Hey folks, Trish from Planner Chicks. I will try to remember to put the URL in the description of this video. But Trish out in Chicago left me a comment asking me to talk about why getting things done doesn't work for me, which was an interesting question. Thank you, Trish, for suggesting this, because the thing is actually, I did read the book, the David Allen Getting Things Done book, so I understand the method, and I actually realized when I was thinking about making this video that I do use several components of his system. I just don't use the whole system, and that's pretty typical of my work style for everything. I tend to do a lot of stuff with, I take the things that work well from all different methods and systems and blend them together and tweak them to make them work for me. And so definitely, I mean, some people, I know that some people really like to have a spelled out system that they can follow. And I think other people really like to create their own. And that's something you have to work out for yourself about how it's going to work. But just, there's a million ways to skin the cat. So but getting things done, the things that I'm using from it that work really well, there's the concept of the agendas. So maintaining, building lists of things to talk about with this person or with this committee, and then queuing, like letting them queue, and then when you meet with them, you've got a nice clean list of everything that you've intended to bring to their attention. That works really well for me. I take stray notes all throughout the day. I used to try to put these things, I'd establish, I'd have an agenda for, John or something. John doesn't exist, but for illustrative purposes. So I have a list for John. I would try to, if I remembered something I had to talk to John about, I would try to flip to John's list and write it directly on the list. What I actually do now, sorry, I put this down, but I use the 2-page per day. So if there's something I need to talk to John about, I'll put John's initials and then the thing here. This is really it serves as my daily inbox. So I have sort of a dated, again, another GTD element. It's I'm using this to dump all the stuff that comes at me, put it here, and then immediately run through that determination. Is this something that I can do very quickly and get it done? In which case I just do it right now, or I plan to do it today. And if it's not, I just let it sit there, and either at the end of the day I'll transfer it to where it needs to go, or as part of my weekly review, which again is another getting things done concept, when I do the weekly review, I'll get it into the right list. So the only exception would be if I'm going into a meeting with John midweek, I might look at the previous pages from that week and just see if I've got anything further that's been noted to add to the agenda for that meeting. So, but that works really well for me. The other thing that I've been playing with a little bit, but I haven't fully figured out how to really grab the power from it, is the waiting for list. I have it behind the W tab in my planner, and I just have it titled waiting, and I just put down the things that I'm waiting on. I'm waiting for decisions, I'm waiting for somebody to complete something so I can pick it up and move it forward. I'm waiting for whatever, anything. I put the initials of the person who I'm waiting for this thing from, and then I write down what it is, and then I put little tiny notes with dates that I've checked back in about that. If it's something that for a lot of these things, I also have a tickler in the diary section to revisit these, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever, to sort of see what the progress is on them, depending on the scope of the project, and how important it is. I don't really worry, if I decide if I'm doing a weekly review, I look at this list, And there's something on it that I've decided, you know what, I don't need to worry about that anymore. That's not my problem. I will scratch it off. And I try to do that because it's very easy when you develop one of like a really functional time and task management system. It's really easy to start tracking not just your stuff, but everybody else's stuff. And I'm trying really hard not to do that because I'm like, it's not my problem. If they are professional people, they can figure it out for themselves. If they don't figure it out, it's not my responsibility. So, at the same time, if I know that like someone high up above me in the hierarchy needs a tickler periodically, that like, hey, you said you were going to do this and I haven't seen it yet. Do you need help with it? I'll keep that on the waiting for list, or I'll just put a tickler straight into the diary. So just a note to check in with so-and-so about such and such. So in many ways I am using these elements, and getting things done is a very well thought out system for dealing with a lot of stuff coming at you, sort of processing it, getting it dealt with. What I really struggled with was, for me, and for the way that my brain works, it's really important for me to to assign tasks to dates and times. I don't entirely treat them like appointments. I give them a little bit more flexibility than that. But I do, to get something done, I really need to put it somewhere where I'm going to see it on the day that I want to get it done, need to get it done, or want to at least get started on it. So with getting things done, when I try to set that system up sort of as it's explained, David Allen is very strict about you only put on your day planning pages, you only put things that are absolutely essential that they get done that day. You keep it extremely minimalistic, and everything else is on a list. And so if you're sitting at your desk and you suddenly have an hour of free time, you flip to one of your lists and start working from it. What happened to me when I did that was that I would end up with a long list of things to do that was totally not prioritized, and it also wasn't broken out into there are things that take 5 minutes, things that take 10 minutes, things that take 20 minutes, things that take 2 hours. And I need to sort of think about these things as blocks of time that I can fit into my schedule, as opposed to just having a long list of all different kinds of tasks on the same list. They're all things that I would do at my desk, so they're all my at-desk list. But when I sit down at my desk, honestly, I don't even think to look at that list. And I start doing whatever happens to be right in front of me. And that's when I think your system, when that happens, you're not working off a planning system anymore. You're just reacting to things. And my work is already very reactive, and I really try hard to stay out of pure reactive mode because, by definition, I am in reactive mode, and I want to focus my energy on getting the things done that I've decided are more important. Because I will always get, there will always be that pressure. There's always something sitting there that is commanding your attention, but it might not be very important. If you want to sort of that whole theory of important and urgent and not important and not urgent, Stephen Covey wrote a whole book about that stuff. That's what his system is all based on. I've read most of these books. Like I say, I pull things from them. Getting things done, I think, so in many ways, it's so the overall sort of philosophy behind getting things done works really well for me. The mechanics of particularly those context lists fails. It just doesn't work. It's I think that I'm a more time-oriented person than task-oriented person. And I also, having ADD, what people think that just means that you're like a fly, that you're like, oh, look, there's a bird. But it's managing the big challenge I think for me with ADD is really it's managing hyper focus. The thing a lot of people don't seem to understand about people with ADD is that we get really, really, really focused on something, and we're so focused on it that we cannot focus on anything else. And you can if you can channel that energy effectively. Sorry, my dog is going crazy about something. But if you can channel that energy, you can leverage it, and you can, if you're sort of taking that hyper focus and letting it guide you through things that you otherwise would really struggle to get done because you wouldn't be able to focus on them. But it's also kind of turning yourself off. It's like I can go into I can get driven into this hyper focus thing that I work on the same thing for 5 hours, and then I don't have time to get all the other stuff I need done that day done because I've been so focused on this one thing. Or alternatively, if I am not focusing, I can spend all day trying to get something done because I can't focus on it. So by giving myself an assigned, I'm going to work on this for 20 minutes, for an hour, for the afternoon, and I'm going to do these things in the morning, it forces me to stop. Whether it's because I'm hyper-focused or not focused, it makes me stop and move on to the next thing that I need to do at a structured time. And that helps me keep track of, it's like the dozens of things I need to get done every week. I might not get them all done because I might not be able to fit them in to the amount of time that I assign to it, but I at least got them moving. And for me, that's really important because the other side of the other big problem I struggle with is procrastination. So if I don't if I can get myself to at least move the pencil, I'll probably write the report. I might not finish the report today, but if I can get most of it done today, I can finish it tomorrow. But if I don't put it down on a list of things to do today, I might not do it at all. And if I say I'm going to work on this single project all day today, I'll spend the whole day procrastinating, and I'll end up, I cannot affect it. My optimal time seems to be about 10 or 15 minutes to work on anything that's tedious. But I absolutely cannot do anything efficiently for more than about an hour at a time. And so it's really useful to me to just time blocking, and I'll admit every day it changes. I don't ever follow that plan to the letter ever. I'll plan to spend from 9 to 10 working on this and from 10 to 11 working on that, but then I'll end up jumping into that first, and so I'll do it for an hour and then I'll switch to the other thing for the next hour. That works for me. That's fine. But it needs to be I'm going to spend this much time on this day on this thing. And that's just sort of, and when I try to do those context lists from getting things done, I remember I would go back to my desk and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing right now. None. And I would sit there spinning my wheels, wasting time, because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I guess if you do it long enough, you might be able to develop the habit, but for me it was just so foreign, and it's so much easier just, I've got a today marker at today, I flip to today, and I look at today, and everything that I have decided I absolutely need to do today is here. And if I finish everything I was supposed to do today, then I can either flip to tomorrow and start getting ahead on the things I was decided to do tomorrow, or I usually have a list of sort of open things that are not high priority to do each week. So I'll have that, it's on my today marker, I can start ticking stuff off of that. So that works really well for me, and I just do it when I do the weekly review. Instead of throwing things on context lists, I throw them on day task list. And day tax, God, I can't talk today. daily task lists. And that works really well for me. It's always worked really well for me. It's kind of my earlier incarnation, like earlier in my working life when I didn't use a planner. When I came into work in the morning, when I started my workday, I would take out a scrap of paper and just write out the things. I would just quickly sketch out a quick daily to-do list. Unfortunately, I tended to lose them. But it's just sort of, this is what I plan to do today. And that's like, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to do this week. This is what I'm going to do this month. That is a very sort of, defining the timeline for me is really important. And because getting things done doesn't really do that very much, it's not very focused on sort of when it's going to happen. It's just sort of that you're going to get all this stuff done. So that's sort of where I'm at, and I know that system works beautifully for so many people, but it just isn't my thing, and it's not everybody's thing. I know other people have said the same thing. So anyway, hope that explains it, Trish, but definitely feel free to let me know if you need clarification or whatever. It's kind of fun to talk about this stuff. And like I say, the more that I use my planner, the more that I do adopt more and more getting things done elements into the system. So maybe it's just something that comes from sort of a heightened, like you've developed the experience that you can do this. I don't know. But anyway, that's where things are at. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Take care.